Yeah, Saturday night and Sunday morning, officers responded to a call of a shooting at Club Marcella at 106 Michigan. Officers responded on scene and they found several victims inside of the club. One of the individuals did expire. He passed away inside the club. And they said they also encountered the other individuals. One suffered a very mild graze, and another individual was treated and released from the hospital. Our homicide investigators are diligently working, making progress on the case. We are working leads. We're moving in a positive direction. We're scouring through a lot of video, and as I said, we're making progress.
Questions?
We've seen the city in the past shut down businesses where there are homicide shootings. Is there any talk of doing that?
So you're right. We have shut down some locations. The one thing that I will say about Club Marcella is that the owners have always been very cooperative. Their communication has been thorough, I'll say. When they opened that club, they were working in conjunction with our district on security improvements. They have a significant amount of security officers that work both armed on the outside, unarmed on the inside. They have a significant camera system, video surveillance system throughout. They have other types of security measures and camera systems inside that I'm not aware of anybody else having. We are looking into some of the issues, but I think when we close clubs, it's because they're not compliant, they're not heeding the warnings that we're giving them, they're not working in cooperation with us. I don't see that in this situation, but we will review calls that have come in there, police reports that have been taken there. Everything is subject to review.
And if their security system is so advanced, how is it done? How did a gun make its way inside?
We have a pretty good idea how that happened. I'm not going to get into it now, but we are reviewing that. And as I said, I think we have a pretty good idea how that occurred.
Was this targeted?
This, we believe, is a targeted nature. There was an altercation, some kind of an incident inside the club that involved the individual, and the shooting was a result of that targeted incident. So this was not targeted against, at least our investigation right now does not suggest that this was targeted against the club. It was targeted against an individual based on an altercation that occurred inside.
Are there other ports of entry besides where the metal detectors were located that may have been able to get the gun in at that point?
I'm not going to get into the specifics of what we believe on how the gun got inside the club. We are working through that, so it's premature for me to suggest that. But if there are any lapses in security, any points of entry, that will be the subject of conversation outside of this investigation on how to make the establishment more safe.
Is what happened early Sunday morning a concern to you, given that just less than a month ago there was another shooting at the same club, a security guard was shot?
Yeah, of course it's a concern to me. I mean, this is the second incident. The first was on January 29th, just a few weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, where we had a security guard that was shot over there. We have that on video. That occurred outside in the parking lot. We're still working through that as well. But when you have gunplay at an establishment, that is a significant cause for concern. That's part of the review process outside of the homicide investigation and the shooting investigation, looking at their security. And as I said, when it comes down to the decision whether or not to close an establishment is how willing are the participants, the owners, the management, willing to work on making any changes to make it a safer establishment.
Is it true that this was captured on some of the cameras inside the actual?
We have video. I'm not going to get into specifics of that video. We do have video. It is playing a very instrumental role in our investigation. And as I said, we are progressing quite rapidly on this investigation, and we are working very closely with the district attorney's office. Their homicide bureau chief has spent time in our office this morning with our investigators working through the investigation.
Is it possible they can lose their liquor license over this?
That's not up to me, that's the New York State Liquor Authority. They're a complete separate entity that, you know, if they request any documentation, calls for service, police reports, obviously we'll certainly supply that, but that is completely outside of my realm.
Were these two incidents connected, the January 29th and today, or do you have any reason to believe that they weren't?
I'm not aware of any reason at this point of the investigation that those would be connected. This, by all accounts, as of this press conference right now, appears to be based on an incident, an altercation that occurred inside the club.
Is there any conversations on shutting down the club for a little while for safety reasons, safety costs?
If it was a safety reason issue, then that would be up to the owners and the management of Marcella. We don't close places for safety reasons. We would close places based on a peace and good order closure or a violation of permits. But if that was something that they did, that would be completely on their own decision.
I know you said you guys are making progress with this. I mean, do you have any leads on the suspect, especially given that there are so many cameras inside that club?
I'll just say that we're making progress. We are making good progress.
I saw someone in handcuffs at the scene, put into a police car. Was there anybody that was arrested or taken away that night?
I'm not, you know what, I'm not familiar with who would have been put in handcuffs that night, so I'm not aware of any other arrests that were made.
If I show you a photo, can you confirm that he's involved in the?
No. So, I'm not aware of any arrests that would have been made. I don't know what led to somebody being put in handcuffs and driven away, so I'm not aware of any arrests. We'll have to take a look at that.
Anyone else?
No arrests were made in conjunction with the shooting that night.
Conversations with the owners, just real quick, what conversations have been had, and how are you guys kind of trying to move forward with them in investigating this? I know they're kind of shaken by it, just talking to them this morning.
Yeah, so it's my understanding that, you know, the mayor had a conversation with the owners over the weekend. You know, they've been long-standing business owners in the city. Geez, I mean, going back, what, 25-plus years, when they were on Pearl Street. So, you know, they moved over here. I know they invested a lot of money into opening that facility. You know, we as a police department will be having conversations with them, but I know the mayor reached out to the owners over the weekend.
There's been a lot of calls for service to this exact location since December. Does that change at all how you police that area at all?
You know, it's you know, like a lot of other entertainment areas, nightclubs. You know, you see Chippewa, Allentown, Main Street, the university area, other places that have establishments. You know, we do change the way we police. You know, we do deploy other resources to those areas because they are a draw. They do draw, you know, larger crowds. So, you know, we had officers that were, you know, right by there when the shooting occurred, but the shooting occurred inside the establishment. You know, there's not much we could have done having a patrol presence on the outside of that, but it is on our directed patrol path. I know it's right on the border of A district and B district, so both districts play a part in going over there. You've also got, you know, you've got some other businesses over there that, you know, that we would increase our patrols around, especially during times of peak business.
The 21-year-old was the one that was being targeted, or was there somebody else that, you know, who others injured? I just wanted to double check who was the targeted individual.
Yeah, I'm just gonna leave it with my comments right now. I don't want to get too deep into the homicide investigation.
All right, thanks, everyone.
All right, thank you.
Thanks.
What's that? It's just